Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Sketch to Sea. This one's a little bit different than our traditional episodes. I don't mean, no, you're not going to learn anything about how this process actually works of developing a yacht like this, but today we actually have to go backwards to go forwards. So what we're doing right now is we are pulling that out of the water and we're going to place it on the hard over there for about a week while we do a little bit of extra work. You'll just have to stay tuned for the rest of the episode to see exactly what that type of work is. And if you haven't already, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. A small click from you goes a long way for us. So go ahead and click that little button in the bottom right now. Thanks so much for watching. So here we are. This is, if you watch the launching a super yacht video that I put out, I will put a link to it over my head, but this is our launch cradle. And we are currently about 2 weeks after sea trials, and Sail Yacht Crazy Love has to come back out of the water. There's nothing absolutely major going on, it's just a lot easier to work on the boat when it's out of the water. So as you can see, they've made a few modifications to this process. We've got these lovely little guide wheels in place so the cable doesn't rub on the concrete. And they also made a few little modifications to the actual cradle itself. For example, they dropped that in there for one of the horizontal support beams, just to make sure that when they empty the marina while the cradle is underneath it, the boat sits exactly where we want it to sit, because that is not a process that goes very quickly. So here we are at the entrance of the marina, and you can see it is extremely low tide, as there's a whole mud pit just on the other side. And in the next few hours, this cradle will be underneath the boat, and the boat will be on its way back up to the marina and rest in between those two sheds. So here we go. They've attached the cable to the rear, and they've started the cable from the front. So that cable from the rear should tension up any second now. Once again, the actual cradle itself has hit the apex and is resting as they tension up that back cable. Okay, there we go. The rear cable is tensioned back there, and then the forward cable is also tensioned as well. So these two winches now need to just move it past the apex, and then it will just be, I believe they're going to detach the front winch, which is this one here, because it no longer needs to be pulled down, and then they will slowly lower it under its own weight. So what these orange lines are for, this is how they secure the vessel centered on top of this lifting cradle to actually pull it out of the water. So when they drain the pond, it drains evenly around the entire vessel. And the way that they do that is they tie it on to the platform here, and then they end up crisscrossing it to the bow and the stern. But in order to make sure that the lines themselves don't disappear, they tied a giant float to it. So as soon as the whole cradle is in the water, that float will lift up, obviously, and they'll be able to grab it from the deck of the vessel and secure the lines to the cleats accordingly. So as you can see here, they're just lowering the cradle down the ramp finally. And once it's at the bottom, they're going to lock the pins. Drive the cradle forward, those floats will bring up the lines, and then they have to float the boat into the middle of the marina and line it up. So as you can see, the cradle is almost all the way in the water, but I'm also standing on the starboard sugar scoop. It appears that we need to wait for a higher tide, so there's more pressure on the bag to get a little bit more water in the marina in order to properly get the cradle under the vessel itself. So this is kind of what this operation looks like, and as I said before, what they're going to have to do is float the boat to the middle of the marina, and then they can slowly lower the cradle in under the vessel itself, strap it down and secure it with those orange lines that they're going to continuously be tightening as they drain the marina. And then the end result should very much hopefully be the boat successfully resting centered on the cradle. We're going to jump forward in time a little bit because this process takes quite a bit of time. So here we have the boat actually coming out of the water, and the next shot you'll see will be on the hard. Okay, so as you can see, the boat has made it out of the water. I'm just going to do a quick walk around and see exactly what it is that I need to look at in order to make an action plan to get everything addressed on the outside. So some of the work that we're having done is just putting some new underwater lights in on the vessel. We just had that opportunity because we weren't actually expecting the boat to come out of the water. This is our lovely little bow thruster door. Looks like they got it pretty square on the lifting cradle. Now on the port side, just walking down. Looks like they're going to be doing some fairing there. And yeah, the copper coat for the most part definitely seems to be doing its job. And you can see here, this is some of the work. We are obviously still on the hard, but these are just because we felt like putting some more holes in the boat. No, these are underwater lights under the trampolines, and they are just putting them in on the other side right now as well. So here we are at our keels, where you can see everywhere where the copper coat has been removed. It appears that they are completely reshaping both the winglets and the trailing edge of the actual keel itself. Yes, so that's exactly what is happening. They are definitely reshaping the trailing edges of the mini keels and the winglets. And back here, look, we also put more holes in our boat. So this will actually look, I think, really sharp at night when we decide to actually light it up. And yes, I know they are not parallel with the water line. They are all installed so they have the same effect when they point out. Because if we did put them all parallel at the water line, these ones back here at the very back would be pointing face down and defeat the purpose of actually installing them. So we have 3 on this side, 3 on this inboard side, 3 on this inboard side, and then these 3 back here, and then we have the 4 on the bows that I just showed you. I just thought I would jump in here and clarify what's going on with the keels. I realized that when I filmed this, I made it sound like I wasn't quite sure what was going on with the keels and the winglets, but that's not totally the case. I knew that work was going to be done on them, I just wasn't sure of the exact plan at the time. During the initial phase of sea trials, we all got an idea of how the boat sailed and the overall feel and performance of the vessel. While everyone was pretty happy, the general consensus between Morelli and Melvin and the engineers at HH was that we could improve the performance and get even more out of the boat. After further discussion, a plan was created to shave down and fine-tune the keels and the winglets, and this is what is going on here. Decisions and changes like this are exactly what sea trials are for. And all of the work being done here is a testament to how seriously HH takes their job. They are committed to getting every detail just right. So after the initial tests, there's tweaking and fine-tuning, and then even more testing. In my opinion, it just reinforces that we made the right decision to go with the company that's going to give us the very best boat they possibly can. And it also did give us an opportunity to install all these sweet underwater lights. Nothing like waiting until the last minute. So here we are, another day on the hard. You can see that they are sanding back the copper coat. to put on another coat. More progress with the lights. They have the inner epoxy coating on both sides. He's just hand sanding around the water line. So there's a lot going on at the yard today. We're filling both our freshwater tanks and our diesel tanks and getting ready for a whole new round of sea trials. But check this out. So what they've done here is they've completely changed the shape of the foils. And this is what it looks like after they've just finished wrapping it with carbon. You can see they're still working away on grinding back the copper coat. And this is not removing the copper coat, it's exposing the copper. So that's the whole purpose of this exercise. As you can see, where it's green, it's good, but if you look up here at the top of the screen, where it's more black than it is green, that's the copper not activating or doing its actual purpose. And here, this foil is a few hours ahead of the other one, but you can see this gentleman here is putting on the fairing compound to make it perfectly smooth. And this looks to be just the first coat, obviously, but the intent is to put it on so fine that all you actually see is a little bit of carbon and the fairing. So you're supposed to be able to see the carbon through the fairing because it is such a fine coat. Just a quick update on the lighting. You can see that the foam core inside the hose has actually been filled. So even if water does end up penetrating there, it's not going to delaminate or soak the core. So I've realized I haven't really shown you what the interior of the boat looks like on these final elements. We're in the middle of the big push to get ready to get out of here. And that means oil changes on both gensets and both engines. Both the tender and the jet ski get their break-in oil changes. Let's go in and see what one of the less taken apart cabins look like. So this one's all in pretty good. Everywhere where you see red tape, it's a QC item that they're going through. They put down most of it, I put down some of it. And then just coming into the master here, we have all of our bedding order that has showed up. So it is currently scattered throughout the entire boat, but that's kind of what it looks like. Hi. This gentleman here is putting on the smart tint coating that goes in between the windows in the master and the main salon. And let's go upstairs to see what else we can find real quick. It's kind of a big push right now. There's probably 15 people working on the boat at this moment. A big final push. Our hot tub cover finally showed up. We've just discussed how to do that today. We've got a couple of cameras throughout the boat. It looks like Captain Dave is about to send somebody up the mast, but maybe not. Our rope bags are being fabricated as we speak. And here's a quick update on the exterior of the vessel. All the new lights have been installed. I'm not going to walk all the way around there right now. But you can see ongoing sanding of the copper coat is continued. This will probably be completed by end of day today. It's early afternoon here right now. I believe the second, or maybe even the third, the final coat of skim coat has gone on onto these reshaped fins and foils. Moving forward again, more of the copper coat is complete. And you can see that the bow lights are finally installed as well. And then here are the two that are over here. trying not to get too close to any of this because that copper coat stuff is not fun. But that's just sanding and fairing going on there. So they've really done a great job to reshape some of these foils. I believe the only thing that is left to do on the exterior after the copper coat is complete would be to tidy up and top up the prop speed. And we might be moving that rope cutter forward or backwards. We haven't quite decided that one yet. And talk about overkill at all. There's a custom carbon wall mount for a sea bob. I really hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Sketch to Sea. It's a little bit chaotic here when the boat's out on the hard. As you can see, we're doing lots of work in this final push to get out there and finally take possession of the vessel. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share. A little click from you goes a long way for us. And if you're not already, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And if you just want to talk about boats, you can always send me an email at sketchtosea@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.